Okay, it looks like we're live.
All set? Okay.
Good good afternoon and welcome to the January meeting of the Waltham Library Trustees. I see we have full attendance today. Happy New Year. And glad to be here with all of you. I sent out just came across in the Globe this morning an obituary of a gentleman from Mississippi that was involved with a library read-in contemporary with many of the lunch counter sit-ins from the early 60s that I hadn't really been aware of the movement, and it was kind of inspirational to hear of their efforts that haven't gotten nearly as much publicity as some of the other civil rights issues. I think I sent it to all of you just for the interest in it.
Great piece. Thank you.
But anyway, attendance, it looks like everybody's here, and the minutes. I looked them over. I thought they looked great as usual. Nice job with the suspending the usual order of the meeting. Set that out nicely from last month. Everybody else had a chance to review them?
Did.
I move to accept the minutes.
Okay. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Clearly passes. Alrighty. Budget expenditures.
Not a huge change from our last meeting. Obviously with the holidays, it's been a little bit hectic, but not a huge change. We're pretty on track for that. We did a mid-year budget check-in for our material spending just to make sure we are where we want to be. And I am very excited to announce that, again, we were, in running our numbers against the city's final check, we were 4 cents off, which ended up being just a mistake in data entry that we were able to correct. And our budget is in just amazing shape, thanks to our amazing tech services team and Molly in administration. They really did a tremendous job. The only other pending thing, which I'm going to hope to get done before our February meeting, but with the timing, I'm not sure if it'll work. I have to request the transfer of funds from our state aid account to our materials budget. That's what we do every year to keep the materials budget up. So I believe we're 20 or 30. It's either 20 or 30,000. I need to actually just go back and make sure I'm not misquoting myself, but that's just a regular yearly transfer. I make a request to the city council to move that money. And it's pretty much earmarked for e-materials. So that just helps us meet our goal for state aid requirements. So yeah,
it might be earmarked for materials, but it can be used for other applications as needed, if I recall.
Yeah, it can be used for anything in the library that we want, basically. But in our purposes, it's mostly just we're using it as a supplement for some of our materials. But it's been factored into our budget. We estimated using that money already, so we're in good shape. I feel good about where we are with the budget, all things considered. We're in a good position. We're just about to go to bid to close out our computer budget. We're in good shape.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Steve, did you get a chance to calculate it? Are we at what should be 50%, right?
Yeah, we're at 44. We should only be you only need to be at 50, so we're doing good.
Yeah.
Great.
And payrolls at 43%. I mean, the big thing, I guess, that's over would be the office supplies, which is an extra spritzing.
Yes, and yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Pretty much. Yep.
All righty, sounds good. I'd accept a motion to place the expenditure report on file.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All righty, clearly passes. On to library operations.
Yeah, so starting with stats, overall, I think our stats I think they look really good. I sent them out to, oh, am I not looking at the right one? Hold on 1 second. You know what, I have it saved on my computer, that's why. Do you give me one moment just to walk you through for the December stats? I think overall, I was really impressed with how we looked. I wanted to point out, you know, just looking simply line by line, we were only about 1,400 books difference between last year when we were open, you know, regular hours, non-pandemic time, in terms of just plain adult books. But our numbers are not that far off considering we basically cut our service hours in half. And there's a pandemic going on. And I think this really speaks to, well, a wonderful community who appreciates their library, but also this amazing staff that are working so hard to get people their materials as quickly as they want. Children's in particular, if you just look at that number, they were only down 11% from last year, which I think is incredible, all things considered. They've really been hustling with their book bundles and just doing incredible work. I mean, overall, I was pretty happy with these numbers. I'm happy to answer any individual questions. In terms of our sort of, you know, the top 10 standing, we're in 13th position again, which I feel like is up holding steady. You know, that is a good sign. I'd be curious, you know, it's not apples to apples, but I'm curious, we'll have a couple libraries that have stopped service altogether through the rest of January. They're not even doing curbside pickup.
Wow.
So I'd be curious what some of these numbers look like when that is factored in next month. Again, it's not a fair comparison, but we'll take it. We'll take looking good for one. We'll use it. E-stats still looking really, really great. I kind of want to segue just into personnel as an update. The city has our staff, all staff working in a 50-50 shift. So every week, only 50% of the staff can be in the building. So our staff is divided into two groups, group 1 and group 2, 1 week. This week, for example, group 1 is in the building and group 2, which includes myself, is working at home. And then we switch the next week, I'll be in the building. I was in the building last week. And this keeps our numbers down. And if anybody got sick, we have a backup group that is able to come into the library as well, which is great. But it is definitely, we're short staff on the floor. We have had a lot of staff. Luckily, our staff remain, you know, relatively healthy, but we've had staff have to quarantine because they've had contact with somebody with COVID, either somebody in their household or for whatever reason, they have to quarantine and get tested. So I feel like the staff is doing an incredible job keeping ourselves open, even our limited hours, and getting all the work done. They've really been amazing. We're swamped at the library, which is a good thing, not complaining about that, but we always have people walking in the door to get their materials pick up. You know, the numbers are pretty up. I usually try to give you the average, the weekly average or the daily average. I actually don't have those numbers for this meeting, but I will email them out to you once they're ready. But we're still, you know, our numbers look good. We're very busy. We've been refocusing a little bit of our energy again on ebooks and just slowed down a little bit of the print materials just for the month of January while we're on this 50-50 split because we don't have a full tech services staff for processing. So we're sort of just prioritizing what the most popular print materials are, and then spending extra time on ebooks for the work from home staff so that those selections are staying fresh. Let's see. Yeah, pretty average ebook circulation.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it's actually down a tiny bit from last year. I would think that ebooks would be skyrocketing. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, you know, well, the ebooks themselves are up.
They're up.
The ebooks are overall, they should be up. Are we
Acquisitions or use?
the use should be up. Sorry, are we looking at the
Maybe I'm looking at ebooks under adult. And maybe it changed how they're counted or something, because anyways, it's just down a little bit, but it's just surprising. But it's fine.
Oh, downloadable. I guess they might be in between somewhere, downloadable audio and ebooks. Is there
Sorry, yes.
Oh, downloadable
overlap on
audio.
those?
Go ahead, sorry. I'm looking also, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
yes, and I'm looking at our electronic, a breakdown of our electronic usage, which you are not looking at, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so I'm looking at sort of combined numbers where they are high, but the individual, just the ebooks, they are down a little bit from last year as well. I'm looking at the final totals of the sort of the overall e-resources.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
I know there was, I'd like to say thanks from the book group at book club at the Council on Aging. There was an effort to be able to get the resources so that we could all take them out locally rather than having to scramble all over northeastern Massachusetts and Google to get them. That way, that was real nice to make them available for the group.
That's a nice thing.
And I wonder, where would the Library of Things show up on here?
Equipment?
Or
Is
is
that
it
equipment? No.
categorized by that?
It is, so I'm sorry, it's, I'm looking at a line number. It's under HD equipment. So if you look under, after AV, it says Kindles, and then LOT is actually the Library of Things.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Oh.
Yep.
Children's Rokus.
Because there was a nice little blurb in Next Door Neighborhood complimenting the library on how cool the Library of Things was.
Awesome.
Is.
Glad to hear it. Yes, it gets a lot of movement, which is awesome. We, so that's stats. The personnel is the 50-50 split update. In terms of Minuteman, I sort of briefly mentioned there are a couple of libraries in Minuteman that are not offering services to the public. They're closed to the public right now for the month of January, just due to the increase in cases. So we're keeping an eye on what's happening there, but overall, pretty status quo. You know, it's always, I always feel like, I was saying this to the friends last week too, because we had our meeting, but we met in November. But December is such a weird month, just because there's so many staff on vacation and there's holidays, and it doesn't feel like there's been that big of an update. It remains pretty status quo, I think, across the board, which is a good thing. Friends are doing well. We have our next meeting in April. You know, just I think with things not being able to do a lot of in-person programming or the book sale or too much active planning, it was a relatively quick and easy meeting. The Friends group are going to start their own social media, so they're going to have their own Facebook and Instagram page, and they'll be helping us by retweeting some of our events to share, which is great. Hopefully drive up some membership that way as well. The Friends budget, you know, looks pretty good as well. And just sort of anecdotally, the staff did a pretty solid job this year of going after some grants we've talked about before, but covering a lot of our program costs just to save the Friends a little bit of money, particularly this year while they can't fundraise. So that was really great. And, you know, COVID is a tricky one. I feel like we're taking every safety precaution. You know, we take it really seriously, following all the protocols and making sure the staff and the patrons are remaining safe. It's hard because there's a lot of rules and there's things that are outside of our control. So if your spouse goes to work and is exposed to somebody or catches COVID that way, that means that you then need to quarantine. So it can have a bit of a cyclical effect. It's sort of people in and out of the building quite a bit, but overall, I feel like everybody's doing a good job of staying healthy, staying well. What else? One of the things that I had just sort of mentioned off the cuff with Alan earlier was because we are at that 50-50 stage with only half the staff in the building, we are a little bit slower getting to the returns. It's just taking a little bit longer. It's something I talked about with the Friends as well at their meeting last week. When you return an item directly to our library, let it sit for 4 days. It's part of the quarantine protocol, but it's taking us closer to a full up to probably a week to check in the material because the items have to sit for 4 days. And then depending if that's a Friday, right, or depending where that day falls in the week, you might not get to it. We certainly won't get to it over the weekend while we're closed. And then with limited staff in the building, it's just a slower process checking stuff in. But not too horrible. Patrons have been really wonderful and understanding of it. I haven't had any complaints about that. A couple of questions about why an item is still on their account, but people have been really very, very kind to us. The staff has certainly mentioned that as well. Any questions about any of that stuff?
Have any of the staff actually tested positive, or can you say?
I obviously can't get into specifics, but to the best of my knowledge, we have not had any staff directly who have tested positive.
Great.
That is a really great thing. Yeah, I feel very fortunate about that. One update that I did want to sort of share under new business is the Friends agreed, I mentioned this in the fall, the Friends agreed to pilot a bus pass program for patrons. Oddly enough, with such increase in cases, I think it might not be as popular as we had sort of envisioned. But while we couldn't offer everybody in services, we did have got a quantity of bus passes so that patrons who didn't have a car or couldn't access other Minuteman libraries that were offering more services would be able to take a bus pass, borrow a bus pass to take down to the library and use their services as needed, or any services, informational services that they needed. And it's a pretty low-key program. We're not doing heavy advertising for this or anything like that, but it's about, making sure the library is supposed to be open to everybody. And since we can't offer all of our ideal hours and days and services, we wanted to make sure that patrons, as is their right as a Minuteman library card holder, did have access to other libraries who were able to offer that. This was particularly back in the early fall. We had thought about this because Waltham's numbers were very high. We were really in the red. A lot of our surrounding libraries were not. Those communities were able to offer slightly more in-person services. Right now, COVID is pretty rampant, so it's kind of a moot point, and nobody's really going anywhere or probably going to take huge advantage of it. But I think the idea was the right idea, and it was very generous of the Friends to sponsor it. And the bus passes don't expire, so we're in good shape to hang on to it if it becomes a future need.
What's the loan period on those?
I'm sorry, it's just a you just keep it. It's just a one, like a outback return ticket. You don't have, it's not, I'm calling it a pass, but it's not the
Charlie card.
I'm sorry, it's not like a Charlie card. It's
Oh. I see.
Right? It's just like a ticket, like
It's probably called whatever it's called. It's the paper one.
just the paper one that you can use, and it's just worth
Round trip ticket.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Long times. Yeah, it's a round trip ticket. I haven't done anything that needed a ticket in a very long time.
That makes so much more sense. I was just trying to figure out
I'm
how.
so sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
it's just an out and back ticket. Yep. And it's
I had
all
a few Charlie cards from another organization that I dropped off.
that was very nice of you. Yes,
You know.
we received those. Thank you. We talked about that already. We are getting ready tentatively for tax season. As you know, we offer a lot of the tax forms, both we have some bulk tax forms for patrons and we also print on demand. This is like a tough guessing game of, will we be open? Will we not be open? How many tax forms should we get? So we did get a pretty solid stockpiling of tax forms, and we've been offering to patrons they can call ahead and we'll print them and have them ready for them to pick up, or a little grab and go station for some of the the staff have a grab and go station. So if a patron comes in and just says, can I get a 1040? And the staff can help them really quickly like that. So we're going to monitor the tax situation. I'm always surprised and impressed at how many people are already, they're knocking at the door December 31st, wondering where the tax forms are. Some people are very, very organized. So we're trying to meet demand that way. And
What do you think, Steve? They're getting refunds?
Oh, every one of them's getting a refund. Every single one of them.
My poor head of reference, I think, she knows more about tax documents than anybody. Like, she's like it's just because she deals with it so much. I'm always very impressed where she's throwing out forms I've never even heard about. So I'm always getting ready for that. And then under unfinished business, it's all by the waylay. As you can imagine, with the 50% in the building, in particular on the days that I am in the building, I'm trying to be on the floor as much as I can to help staff with the circ functions, checking materials in, doing the shelving, busting out my dusty shelving alphabetical skills, and trying not to mess too many things up. I'm not sure if
One of those decimals.
how much help. Yes. But everybody's had a really good attitude about it, which I really appreciate. We have some fun online programs, very interesting online programs coming up in February for Black History Month. And I think I feel like that's about it. That's all on my list. Any questions or concerns?
No, it sounds good. Let's see, art ownership, probably no RPF yet,
No.
or RFP rather. Yep.
Nope.
Okay. Bylaw review, I chatted with Steve a little bit on a couple items on it. I'll try to get a rough draft out for the next meeting. We're in order to follow, as I mentioned before, in order to try to chat with the city attorney's office so that we can find out if we need to do anything on our bylaws about that as well. And disaster planning, I guess we're living one, and it seems that we seem to be working our way through it. So
Yep.
good. And announcements, there'll be some activities for February, I guess, right?
Yes. Yeah. We're just finalizing those programs to do an announcement for that. I did want to mention with the disaster planning, I've actually been keeping a binder with all of our COVID, sort of everything COVID related, so that we will have a nice draft of something that hopefully we will never need again. But I was sort of conscious of how would we want to approach this for next time. And I'd like to not approach it next time.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, I have my eye on the $750 million whatever ball that's coming up. And I'd like to be done with this pandemic, but just in case, I'll have a nice binder put together, hopefully, of how to handle next time.
All right. See, any other announcements, or are we pretty well announced out?
That's all that I have.
Okay. I guess if there be no other matters coming before the trustees, I'd accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty, gang. Have a good month. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay well.
Yeah.